actually practiced yet. You have so many people around here. What I'm going to do is tell you just a little bit quickly about who I am. So Wonder Woman. No, actually that was my biggest mistake that led me here today in front of you. So I'm Helene Schmit. As David said, I have quite corporate background, and I can still remember when I saw the last job description of the last job position I had as a project manager in urban planning, what I said was, oh my God, they're looking for Wonder Woman or Superman. This is just not possible, humanly possible. Without really realizing it, I ended up providing Wonder Woman. I was very good at my job. I was having amazing results. But I burned out. I over-involved. I got a lot of pressure, constantly changing environment, tricky situation to deal on a daily basis, and I was completely shutting down who I really was. So my whole journey started from a big background of classic and corporate life to 2 years ago, setting my flat, leaving my job, and taking the whole year off traveling and doing basically absolutely nothing, not even figuring out my future. And then a year from now, well, it had all infused, and I could really give birth to my program. So the whole thing is I want to help people never go through what I've been through. I want them to, if I can, never reach the point that they hit the wall or hit rock bottom, whatever you call it. For me, it's all about happiness. It's not about the end goal and labeling himself happy because it's friendly. It's about bringing self-awareness in everything we do. Knowing yourself, knowing your core, being centered in who you are, so you can then adjust yourself towards people, situation, decision in your life, because you know what your core is, and you can then decide the compromises you're ready to do, and the one that doesn't respect yourself. So it might sound very conceptual, but actually it's not so much, because I've taken my classic analytical corporate background to find ways to bring awareness into teamwork, into time, task, energy management, into budget management, personal, professional. I think that people label people like me like productivity coaches or mentor. Maybe some people do it, but for me, I'm more into saying you might not hate all the productivity tools that you can find everywhere if you know who you are, how it works for you professionally, what doesn't work, and really learn to adjust your work life and your life to balance it and to do what you're good at, maximize it, and really express your potential, maximize your capacities, rather than feeling bad and forcing yourself to frame it. So I do that through life coaching, business mentoring, and workshops. And I have a project that I tell you later, because this is going to take time. Skillshare, mini workshop. What I believe in, sharing is caring. Actually, I've been working in various co-working space all over the world in the past year. And I really believe in the power of community, of networking, of finding complementarities and inspiration with discussion with people. And this is really something I believe in, Skillshare. Doesn't mean that I don't work as a side, but I really believe that I want to share with people my knowledge and raise awareness. So we're going to talk about, first, self-awareness and natural rhythm. It's going to be really the basis. I'm not going to take the longer part of the presentation. But then I'm going to bring you about knowing about your manage your task depending on your energy and your natural rhythm. And we're going to go into practice tools about organizing your days, morning routines, tips and tools on various subjects. It's going to be very interactive, so I have a few exercises for you guys. You might need to take notes, you might not. I will not let long time of reflection because I want it to keep being interactive. And I'm going to ask you feedbacks so we can have discussion and I can know better about you and really adjust my presentation to what you guys need. Though it's a time management presentation, so I allow myself to go sideways if I feel that it's needed and there's a good dynamic. But at some point I will have to reframe the debate and go further. So hope you're okay with that. Now we can start. Self-awareness. Seriously? Most people, I tell them that they think I'm woo-woo. Well, I am. I've been living in Ubud. It's the yoga mecca. But this is a very interesting diagram that I found on the Copenhagen expert of happiness at work website. Actually, you have all the, I'm going to read it for you. Tracking your time, better to-do list, structured calendar, prioritizing your tasks, and being happy at work. So it says it all. You can have all the tools you want to have. If you don't have self-awareness, that brings you happiness, because how do you want to be happy if you're not aware of yourself, a minimum? Well, being happy at work has a lot of potential, right? To go back to the illusion of perfection, to come back to Wonder Woman before. This is something maybe most of you have been facing during a job interview, or the tricky question about your weaknesses that you try to turn into strength. That's criminal to ask people to do that, because basically it tells them that only good size and qualities are required. You're not allowed to be weak or not knowing everything. The power of self-awareness is to accept yourself, to be okay with your dark side as much as your bright side, to understand that you would not be so good at something if you were not weak at something else. And it's what is awesome is to be able to team up with people that have the strengths of your weaknesses and vice versa. So my dream is to live in a society and work society where people can tell you, yeah, I suck at that, but I'm freaking good at this. So it's the opposite. Let's talk about it, because this is where beauty comes from. Can we go to the next? And the last one, self-awareness comes also through your work environment. It's not only about being superwoman or superman. It's about being okay that maybe co-working spaces or open space doesn't fit to everybody, that some people need at least part of the day some time off, that some people should be allowed to wear headphones at the office and should not be pointed finger on because they do so. That maybe we should find a way to communicate gently with this guy, and maybe this one should not come interrupt you every 2 minutes in your office or whatever. So self-awareness is about positioning yourself towards all these things that will kill your day, kill your time, and use your energy. Natural rhythm. It comes to one thing. I'm going to ask you a few questions. Do you know a little bit about your natural rhythm? And did you ever take the time to ask yourself these questions? What I'm interested in is what in your life goes against the previous answers, and why? Do you feel that your current life follows your natural rhythm? Or do you think that things would like to adjust, and why?
Actually, it depends on discipline. If you, for instance, if you're competing for something, you're gonna make a plan to do it, and your body or your mind will adapt naturally to your goals.
If you have enough discipline, yes, I completely agree with you. But the question is, if you had to naturally wake up and live naturally, what time would you wake up and what time would you do exercise? What time does it feel good? And what time do you force yourself to do so because you put it in a goal, in a schedule, because you think it's like that?
Actually, it could be different in winter and in summer.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And some people love to exercise first thing in the morning. Some people do it after work. Some people wish they still had the motivation to do it afterwards because they feel drained after their day. Most people don't go to sleep when they're tired enough and they wake up in the morning because they're all on the clock to go to the office, and they're ended up being exhausted and wait for the holidays to rest or do nothing special during the weekend because they're exhausted. The thing is, if you could follow your natural rhythm, would you? And what would it change compared to your current life? Can anybody share something? Feels like sharing something?
It's very difficult to really follow or respect a natural rhythm because there are so many external factors. From your boss to your family, to the city you live in, the climate you live in.
Yeah. I don't say that you have to do this. I say that what in your life goes again, why, and there might be some things that doesn't go, really block it, or really make it more complicated at least, and some other that maybe, I know it's really not always easy when you have a boss and you're in corporate, but if you're somebody that works better, I don't know, from 10 to 4, but non-stop for this solid 6 hours, and achieve much more work, what I like to bring awareness on, and I stopped doing consultancy on, is to allow people that create the work environment, to allow people to say, yes, I'm not productive at 8, and I'm much better at 10, so I can get much more things done from 10 to 5, let's say, to make it 7 hours, than staying from 8 to 6 and losing 3 hours in the process because I will not be in a good place first thing in the morning, because morning is not the same for some people. Some people wake up very early and do exercise 5, 6 in the morning and achieve a lot. Some other, for many reasons, family organization or just their own natural rhythm, will be more keen to start at 10. You think if people never allow themselves to ask themselves the question, then for sure nothing will change. You know what I mean? We are so stuck in this. I'm just going to do a little explanation. By 2025, 70% of the workforce will be Generation Y or younger, which means that this generation doesn't approach things the same way that the previous generation. They want meaning, they want flexibility, they want innovation, they want to create, they want to be heard and valued. Doesn't mean that other people didn't do it before, they just were better to suck it up and deal with it. But we have a new generation coming that is going to change the whole thing. So the earlier the companies prepare a shift from hierarchy to lateral project management organization, where people are valued and empowered and trusted, but also have responsibilities, the more we will be able to bring the flexibility and allow people to be who they are, actually. So the whole question, it's not about saying that this should be the thing, is that this should be questions that are legitimate to ask yourself. And I think that silence was both people maybe being shy of talking and saying, what is she talking about? I can't do that because I have to wake up for work and I have to bring my kid at school and I have to, yes, we are stuck in high factors. This is the whole problem. Somebody wants to share, or do I go to the next one?
Well, I don't have any like fixed on my day, but you know, I kind of wake up and you know, a couple of hours later I've managed to finish with Facebook or you know whatever and finally sit down and do work. Is that my natural rhythm, or is this you know a couple of hours I lose every morning? Is that?
I don't know. The natural rhythm is not so much how you feel these hours. I would say that you do what most of us entrepreneurs, people who work by themselves, do. This is the trap of not having a morning routine, which is the thing I'm going to deal with at the end of my presentation. It's more about if you don't put any alarm and you don't party the day before, what time do you naturally wake up?
Well, if I naturally wake up like 12, what is it? If I don't put alarm, I wake up at 12 or 1.
If you feel energized at 12 and then you start your day with a good routine and you go for it, what's the problem?
Yeah, and then I go to bed very late, and it's kind of, I just feel it's kind of not right.
It's good that you try different options, but I don't want to point finger about you wake up at 12, you have a problem. Maybe you wake up at 12 because you ate late and then you struggle to fall asleep because there's a digestion. And also you live in Barcelona, which is a little bit shifted compared to the rest of, Spain is shifted compared to a lot of other places. Maybe just by going to bed earlier, but it's eating earlier, you would end up waking up earlier, but you just have to time. So if you tell me waking up without an alarm is 12, but you feel bad about it, maybe put an alarm at 10 if you can.
No, I put alarm clock. I do put alarm clock, but without alarm clock, it's kind of 11, 12, 1. But I put alarm clock for 8 or 9. And
but some people are just not morning people. I think what is important is when you wake up to reorganize your day in a way that I will explain later in the presentation. But as long as your work doesn't suffer from it, I would tell you, fine, do it. Do it. If you feel bad and you want to change it, there are many, many ways to change it. But if not, it's good.
well, the work doesn't suffer, no.
Or I'm done then. Okay, I'm going to go to the next one. You can skip this one because actually I talked about it. So the one before was just about the idea of bringing corporate to allow people to take a nap. This is another big taboo in corporate. People who take a nap are finger pointed. So, concentration and energy levels. I think most of you are more or less aware of the circadian rhythm, which is the natural rhythm of the body, which normally goes with the sunlight, so it's a bit different in summer and in winter. But let's say that if we were all living under the tropics or equator, that would be our day. And wake up with the sun at 6, going to bed at 10. Well, in the tropics it's earlier. But really following what nature and our body functions. So having a wake up in the morning, having a very low sleep urge, so we can see that this from 8 to 10 or 11 are the most, in theory, productive hours of your day. Then you have the sleep need, which is different from the sleep urge. And you can see that there's a peak after lunch, considering this is lunchtime.
Siesta.
You all felt that you will almost fall asleep after lunch. And then, when sleep need meets sleep urge, you go to bed and until the next day. So this is how the body functions. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions and then I'm going to show you about another energy level. Do you take breaks during the day? How is it working for you every day? What is the best and the worst moment where you can work? This is all work related most of the time. And for how long can you concentrate without distraction and how do you regenerate? Do you have habits at work, some things you like to do? No.
Go for coffee.
Sorry?
Go for coffee.
Go for coffee. Every, what?
2 hours.
2 hours, yeah. That's interesting for what comes next. Anybody taking naps or doing?
I like to concentrate in the night because nobody is calling me, or in the very early during winter. During winter, I wake up like at 5, but not in the summer. I mean, in the winter, I wake up like at 5 and nobody is calling me, and then I know I will be quiet and I will be focused.
Hours during when I was in corporate. There's nothing I like more than being at the office at 7, having a lot of work done, and by 9 having just people coming, and I have already 2 hours of work. Then you can some of you allow yourself to do some proper sports activity during lunch breaks, or leaving earlier the job to do activities after work, or yeah. Yes. So, can you go to the next one, please? Concentration and energy level. So you might have seen a lot of people talking about working for long hours and not taking any breaks, and making even maybe pride of the fact that they don't take any breaks and don't leave their desk. Actually, this is a complete denial of natural rhythm. We are human beings. We have cycles, and it's been scientifically proven that we have a maximum of 90 minutes of concentration, maybe 2 hours. If you push it, some people have just 60 minutes. And the optimum rhythm is to really take a 15 to 20 minutes break every 60 to 90 minutes. I realized that this is what I was doing in corporate. I was doing my tea stop every half an hour and a half. I was going downstairs, going to the cafeteria, waiting by my brother to board, drinking my tea, going up to my desk, and when I was coming back, I was really energized. So even when I was on long concentration tasks, I was always taking a break. We have moments in the day where we have really high energy, and moments in the day where we feel really low, like I showed you before. We should really use these moments to be efficient at work, and this is exactly what I'm going to tell you about on the next slide. This guy is busy. This guy is really, really busy. What I'm going to talk to you about is the 3 categories of tasks that you have at work. We all know people. Tasks are like people. There are the people that we meet as a task that we feel empowered. We have so much good time when we do them or see these people. We feel really energized. We could move mountains by just being around or after seeing them. These are the empowering tasks and people. It feels so good to do them, this task, to organize most of your days around it. And if you could choose it, 100% of our time could be related to this task. Then you have the neutral one, the whatever. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that job. I can see that person. It doesn't make any harm. I'm not super excited, but no pain, no annoying feeling. And then you have the pain in the ass tasks and people. The one that just thinking about them drains you, demotivates you, that once you've done them or while you do them or while you see them, you feel like, what am I doing here? What is this? Why am I asked to do this? I'm not good at this. I'm not efficient at this. I'm not enjoying that person. Can you come back? And work is the same. So in theory, 60% of your time of work should be the empowering tasks. And the 40% should be the neutral and annoying ones. Trying to minimize, because life is like, work is like people. You cannot completely erase from your life the annoying people. You can just create an environment that minimize their occurrence. You just have to deal with them anyway. You have to do also the boring but okay stuff. But in order to have the energy to do that, you really have to empower yourself. So you really have to be sure that your work is fulfilling you, is bringing you that self of achievement, of challenge, of empowerment that everybody deserves. Not every job is perfect, so lucky you if you reach the 80%, which is for me the ideal. I think that people who are 70 empowered, 30 annoying or boring are really, really good, in a really good place. The thing is that we've been asked non-stop to do faster, do more with less means. So even what was empowering us before in a constantly evolving environment completely frustrates us because we might not have any more the time or opportunities to do the task that we really wanted to do in the first place for the job we've been hired or for the company we've built on theory. Because then we're stuck in some task hiding, which are meaningless, and we completely miss our bigger picture. So how does this resonate? How does this resonate with what I told you before? You're going to find out soon. But first, well, we're a big group, so that might be a little bit hard. And it's a very, usually 10 people workshop. We really take a moment to think about that. I'd like to know maybe more about what I just told. Does it resonate in you, and do you have examples to share about your work life, about being from empowering at first to completely lose track of this 60% of empowering tasks and feeling like it's just neutral all the time, or annoying, which I wish you don't have. Anybody? Don't be shy.
What do you mean with 3 categories?
You have the empowering one, the one that makes you really feel good, that you feel that you've been hired to do that. This is the biggest added value you have to bring to the company. The neutral are the things that you just do because they have to be done, but they're not specifically annoying. It's often what we procrastinate a lot on because it doesn't feel useful, even if we can do it in 5 minutes. And the annoying one are the ones who are really triggering you, challenging you, sometimes positively.
I think I have trouble, the irritating ones irritate me so much that they stop me doing the ones that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And so I feel I have to fix the irritating ones, and they're the ones that I have the most trouble concentrating on, and all this kind of stuff, and you know, I feel like I try and do them first, and it takes me 3 times as long as it probably should.
Exactly. This is exactly my point. Yeah. This is what I'm going to explain to you after this next one. Anybody else wants to share?
Well, I like to start my morning with monkey tasks. I call them like that because you don't need to think. You just do it because you have to do it, and then it comes the task that you don't know how long it takes, and actually it takes like the whole day, and then you start to procrastinate. More something.
You sometimes have tasks that you thought would be shorter.
Yeah, you have no idea how long it's gonna take, and usually it takes like for expert people like 1 hour, but you do it, and then you see that there's something else to do, and you end up doing it the whole day.
Because maybe of perfectionism also, you don't want it to be done.
Or curiosity. Curiosity.
Procrastination is called. I have a thing or two about procrastination to tell you about. So everybody here is happy with how their life, the work-life is balanced. Do you say that you most of the time do the best and enjoy doing as much as you would like to?
Yeah, I think the ones we don't want to do is kind of a lot of mental energy, just thinking about how much you don't want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't do them. It creates huge problems. So I focus on the good stuff, love it, and then I abandon the other stuff, and it goes down my task list.
Exactly.
And I'm in trouble. Can you outsource it? Are you free?
Yeah, that's something that we're outsourcing or delegating if you can delegate. But try not to say, I don't want to do that, do it. I had the boss who did that. Let's go to the next one, because this is when the fun begins. The best way to get something done is to begin. Yes, but no. Yes, but at the right moment. So this is the moment where what I told you about energy, self-awareness, naturalism, and the task management completely meets. I don't know. So the thing is, if you use your most powerful moments to do what empowers you, what you like to do, well, you're fucked for the rest of your task. Because you just wasted the good moments. Because the empowering task makes you naturally feel better. So when you're in a low energy, even if you had a break because you have a low day, some days you just don't feel like it. Well, rather than procrastinate, trying to do neutral, annoying things and never achieve them, take the whole day because you procrastinate or you just avoid. And then at the end of the day feeling miserable because you haven't achieved anything and you feel that you've been losing your time. These are the days to do the empowering task more than any other day. Treat yourself. I mean, you can be low, and if you really anyway have to be at work, take it as a way to empower yourself to raise your energy level, sorry to say it this way, but basically trying to achieve something positive out of a day that didn't start in a good way. On the other end, when you take the high energy moment, the one you feel good, you can go for it, you feel like often your day starts and you slept well, you arrive at work, which happens sometimes, sleeping well. And then just start with 2 or 3 most annoying things. Keep really what costs you the most for the moments your energy and motivation are at the highest level. You can also deal with, I'm talking about that later, the neutral tasks. Just take them when you finish an empowering task or when you come back for a break. Just stack the neutral task, everything that takes you 5 minutes, 10 minutes, boom, 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 boom. So you can either do that first thing in the morning or an annoying task, or save that for after breaks or after doing tasks that empowers you. So really it's all about the strategy. Your energy is going to go up and down all day. Your motivation is going to go up and down. Sometimes the best way is to just take a break and go back and come back from a break and just list a little task. So for that you just need first to do a little check about your classic task during a week. Have you ever done that? Just checking overall what kind of things you do during the week. You have repetitive tasks that come always. Because that's very interesting, because then you can really empower yourself by just journaling a classic week. So you write more or less what you do. You just say, okay, this is empowering, this is neutral, this is pain in the ass. And then do some tests and try to organize your time depending on these categories and your energy level, because even if you didn't answer me, you all know if you're a morning person or you're not. You all know if you like to work late or not. You all know if you want to take long breaks or short breaks if you have a choice. Everybody does know that. So just take that knowledge that just you know and try to organize your time depending on that. So even if you're on a long-term task, try to minimize sorry, it's getting late, my English can get low, distractions. The best way, and I'm going to explain that more in details, to lose time is research on internet and emails, checking. I don't even talk about Facebook, whatever, we all do that, but nobody talks about it. And really, the thing that has been the most powerful for me is just shutting down any alarm and imposing myself to it. Just moments during the day where I read my emails. And it really changed everything, because I changed my relationship to emails, and I teach people who are working with me to not expect an instant answer, because I told them, okay, I'm checking emails at specific times of the day, and I don't consider that an email is an emergency because this was my way of processing. If you really have an emergency, text me. Because if I'm in a focusing moment, I might not even pick up my phone, because this is the way I found for myself to get in my zone. And when I'm in my zone, when I really need 2 or 3 solid hours of concentration, well, I don't want to be interrupted for everybody else's emergency. I know what my emergencies are, and I know how to position myself towards it. And I prefer to be fully present for somebody 2 hours later than being interrupted, frustrated, or even angry, and then struggling to go back in my zone. So really using the energy level of fluctuation combined with some distraction mitigation, let's say, is very, very useful. And we're going to go to the next one. So this is my cheesy part, warnings. And so there's no direct link to what I was saying before. Morning at home, guys, it's not made to check your professional email. Don't do that. This is personal. It can wait half an hour so you can take care of yourself. It doesn't have to be a 2 hours ritual unless you really want it. I mean, I know more than one person waking up at 5 or 6 and doing a 2 hours huge ritual. But then when they start to work, holy shit, they're in the zone. But most people, it's just about doing a little yoga or meditation or some little exercises, having a proper breakfast, which is so important. I've been neglecting it for years. And it actually structured my days in a way that I didn't expect. To cook my breakfast and to take time to eat it and to do things healthy. First thing in the morning, not having a croissant and a cafe and boom, go to work. No, do a juice, do eggs, whatever. Cook something that makes sense for my body. This is my thing. So yeah, just create the space for you, because the morning is the moment you wake up and the day is kind of an empty page, even if you have a full schedule job. And it's the moment you put intention, it's the moment you keep the momentum of your day. So don't waste it. Don't look at your job emails on your phone. You'll be there in half an hour. Fine, take time for you. Can we go to the next one? So you can then arrive at work and do the habit stacking. Do some people here are familiar with habit stacking? Morning miracle, no? So these two books and techniques are about considering that the morning is the moment you shape your day. So my tips and tools about that are the following. Back in corporate, my morning routine was to check my emails first thing in the morning when I was arriving at my office, closing my door. So and review my agenda, the two in parallel, because I would check my emails, see if some game-changing emails arrive during the night, which usually never happens. So, because if there was really an emergency, I can tell you I had a phone call. So just checking the emails and checking my calendar. On Monday morning, I was reviewing the whole week, and I was questioning each and every meeting that was already on my schedule. Because it might have made total sense when we took the appointment 2 weeks before, because everybody had busy agendas. But then something came up and I could not really see my added value in this meeting, or I had something bigger coming. So I was allowing myself every morning to question the meetings, either internal to really ask if my presence was necessary, and if not, if it was external meetings, either finding somebody in my team to represent me, or if really I had a major problem, to reschedule it, but really question everything. As well as reviewing my objectively. So I take a task list, and I was just, I knew which were the priority, but I was just using the 3 flags or the 3 colors I told you, the 3 categories I told you about. And I was actually reviewing what would be my 3 goals of the day, 3 things that I would be happy by the end of the day if I had achieved them. So I was doing it on Monday for the whole week, an intention for the whole week, and each and every morning at my office saying, okay, what are my top priorities, because they could be moving every day. So checking every morning and every evening when I leave the office. It's all about the beginning and finishing rituals. Then I was identifying what was the most challenging me, what I was really procrastinating on because out of fear of boredom or whatever. And I was forcing myself to do that first thing in the morning. Doesn't mean that I was doing 3 tasks. I had 3 goals for the day, but then I had a huge pile of tasks. And I was organizing that. I had my first time of answering emails not before 10 in the morning, unless I check an emergency. I never mark unread an email when I haven't read it. So I read it, it might be marked read, but then I put it unread. And if the nice person who sent me the email is asking for a reading confirmation what happens, I was just sending this a very polite email saying, I've read your email, I come back to you in half a day, 2 days, a week, depending on the degree of emergency. But the day I unlocked the alarm and decided that emails will not run my life, it really changed. So people were annoyed. About the morning ritual, it's also very important to have it in time frame. So for example, what you do in your morning ritual is reviewing the agenda, reviewing the emails, reading whatever news is consistent with your professional activity, doing 3 things that takes less than half an hour and have them achieved by, well, I was arriving at the office at 8, so by 10 in the morning. So basically by 10 in the morning I had done 3 things challenging, procrastinating. I had reviewed my emails, I could take a break and then treat my emails. I had 15 or half an hour slots of tweaking emails and then going back to another task. Depending on how I was keeping on doing things annoying if I was in a good mood, or then I was rewarding myself with something more fun because it was already mid-morning and it was starting to go downhill until the lunch break. So then I did something I liked more. What can I say more about habit stacking and general organization? Something that was very useful was to, when I had long concentration moments, I was booking a room, a meeting room, and I was actually doing my my work in this meeting room. I was booking the room, telling the front desk secretary to not transfer any call. I was switching off my phone or not even taking it with me. I was telling my team, my coworkers, that I should not be disturbed, and I was simply leaving my office and going in the meeting room to do my task, so that nobody would come interrupt me. That was something very powerful, or at least I was blocking moments in my agenda that people could not put any kind of meetings, because I had a very big thing to do with work, and I didn't want it to have meetings or whatever put randomly in my agenda. So these were my general organization tips and tools. Now I'd like to, I'd like you to work, because I've given you a couple of informations. I can give you a lot more. I have actually heaps of tips and tools. I don't know why I wrote it, because when you ask me a question I should answer it, but it's my thing. What I like to do is, what are you struggling the most with? What are your dirty little habits that you like to shift but you don't even know where to start? I think this one was very good. Tell me how you procrastinate. Anybody wants to be vulnerable here?
On social media, yeah, so distraction, as you said. So reading, I start to read an article and then I end up reading 10, 20 articles, and I realize I waste
I'm very good at that.
much more time than I wanted. And sometimes I'm open a program or something, software, and it takes some time to load. And instead of waiting there to load, then I go and I switch to the browser and I start again to read, and then I remember that I have to do something else.
And then you just check your clock and it's been half an hour or an hour and you don't even know where time went, and you had an appointment and you missed it, or you're running late because you've been reading very interesting stuff on the internet. What you can do here is simply to take this as a reward. So when I've been hired in my last position, the one in urban planning project management, I remember telling in the eyes of my boss. So for me, taking breaks is going on Facebook, or checking my mails, or reading whatever article. So you might come in my office and see me actually on internet. So it's now or never to tell me if you're fine with it or not, because I can tell you that my commitment to you is that these are my breaks, and this is just the way these days it works for me. It changed in the process. But just be open about it, but then commit to yourself and the other to say I do it for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, during my breaks, and this is my reward. And you'd be surprised to know how it works, because the brain has a mechanism that is based on cue and rewards. So it's about developing new habits, and you can really implement it. But for your case, it's about saying that the cue is, I'm at work, but I like to go on Facebook. How can I make this to coexist? Or I like to browse the internet. Well, I'm going to tell myself that I'm going to work straight for 1 hour and commit to myself that I'm not going to surf on the internet, except if it's directly correlated to what you do. But then the reward is that you will have a no guilt at all to be spending and embracing your 15-20 minutes of surfing on the internet. Well, of course, if you work for 90 minutes, you can get the 20 minutes. If you work for 60 minutes, you have a shorter break. But really use that, just put an alarm. We do that with some other entrepreneurs. We call that work dates. So we meet in wherever place is, a cafe, a co-working space. And we set an alarm. It's a Pomodoro system. And every 25 minutes it rings. And we're allowed to chat for 5 minutes. Then we work for another 25. And after 3 half-an-hour cycles, we're granted 15 minutes. But then you're accountable because you're with somebody and you know this other person is actually working. So hold you accountable, and at the break you want to just quickly check, okay, have you done what you want to do and what are you working next, and then we chit chat for 5 minutes. It's very, very, very useful. So find, either you working in a corporate?
No.
By yourself?
Yeah.
Find yourself some working buddies. It works spot on. And it's very convenient, it's very, very nice.
Can I ask, tell me if this is slightly off. I think for me, my worst habit is not, it's not really a habit, it's more a question of strategy. Like, so the things that really have...
It's a project, what is it?
Yeah, it's kind of how to, like today the problem is how to organize a relationship, and it's got uncertainty about the future, it's got lots of interrelated things. It's a difficult thing to kind of sit down and start with.
You have, not going into mind map, to go back to visual tools, you have the graphic tools. If you tell me you have some inputs from the outside, it's the side effects or the secondary things that come influence. Of course, you have to always start with the why, but try to really put in the center your question, your problem, your project, whatever, and then write on the sides the positive incomes, the negative incomes. And it brings a lot of clarity to do so, because your brain is going to very naturally try to look for solutions to deal with the negative and empower the positive. And very slowly you're going to really have connection between the thing, and you're going to have better visibility about your actions. But if you don't know how to do this thing to have the result you have, it's very often because you're lost track about what is the why. Anybody has a dirty little secret at work?
I want to share something. It's about the good stress, I think. It's a vision of things. When I didn't have clear goals, I used to go to the social medias and reading blogs all the day. But once I had new challenges, clear goals, I didn't have the time to think about Facebook. It was like a game. When you play a game, for instance, you're really addicted to reach the next level, right? Well, I see things in the same way, and For instance, when I removed the application of Facebook off my phone, I saw it was more hard to share pictures from my phone. So it takes like 2 seconds when you have the application, but when you don't have it, it takes like 3 minutes. So you really are aware about the time that it takes to see the likes, to see the shares, to see that emotional impulse that gives you the social media after. And now I'm more focused.
Congratulations. I've removed twice the app from my phone and put it back twice. I like it. I don't go so much on Facebook, but I like it. For Instagram, though.
I think this is very interesting for as a tool for the auto-sabotage you have for tasks.
Yes.
But this is more like the temptations for useless things. Sorry, it's useful. Regarding work.
Agree with you.
But then when you are like in corporate environments, like you're explaining right now, you created like, you had a great auto-discipline, and of course you had motivations to structure your life and adapt the people to your surroundings to the new way of working together with you. So people needed to adapt themselves, because now they couldn't talk to you all the time, and things like that. But then when you are in like a self-entrepreneur, like nomads working alone all over the world, it's more complicated. You tend to auto-sabotage yourself much more often and much easier. And this for me is the biggest challenge. Because when you go with new people, although it should be the opposite, it's my own business, I should focus much harder than it's like other stakeholders.
This is the guilt, it's awful, right?
This is the biggest challenge, because the other, you have more people depending on you there, and when you are at the beginning of the entrepreneurial season, basically you are alone with one more person. Find like not sabotaging attitudes like this one with Facebook is fine, but for the other actions, it's very different.
This is really what I've learned.
Right? Like, if you open a company, you want to sell as much as you can, so you're crazy checking the videos, like this guy's saying right now, okay, so forget all the rest, it's this. And it's very difficult for me to try to imagine making this auto-discipline to use.
It's been very hard. I didn't do it like that. I used to be checking all the time. Even if I wasn't in a sales position, I used to check my emails a lot, because on a big urban planning project, you can't imagine as a project manager everything you have to do with the architect, with the city council, the mayor, the senator, the notary, the lawyers, because you have lawsuits here and there to deal with. Urbanist, real estate development. I could be busy all day with my emails, no problem. But I decided not to, and it's created a lot of guilt. But now that I'm on the entrepreneur side, I agree with you. I can't, unless I do a clear communication on my website saying, I'm actually checking my emails twice a day and I come back to you within 24 hours maximum, then I have to clearly communicate on it, with how to communicate, because this is what I'm going to teach people afterwards, because this is why they reach out to me. Being in sales, yeah, it's kind of, you're addicted to the thrill of seeing that you make sales, but maybe keep that to empower you when you feel low. Check your email, but then if you check your emails and there's no sales, it's double. I mean, you pay, it's a risk. But it's not impossible. It's just another addiction. It's not Facebook addiction, but it's we all need validation. Some people get it through likes on social media. Some people get it through sales. Some people get it through boss feedback. And when you think about it, it all comes back to finding some drive in some external validation. And the whole challenge for us entrepreneurs is to find it inside of us, to be okay with who we are, what we do, why we do it. And I don't say that I'm the queen of that every day, but at least I'm aware of it. Yes.
But don't you think it's important in sales to come back to clients' requests very fast? I mean, it gives a feeling for them that you're there for them.
Yes, yes, I don't say that you should do what I do. Just do what is good for you, but don't let emails interrupting constantly your work. It's okay if you have a job where you have a pile of small tasks. So you can allow to be interrupted because maybe the longest of your task will be half an hour. I don't know. I mean, there are some jobs that don't need to have long concentration periods. So then it's fine, but you don't have to answer within 5 minutes. Even half an hour or an hour is fast.
2 hours, yeah.
So if you have really be there for your clients is on the top of your values, because remember, first, it's all about self-awareness. What are your values? If your value is to be available for people, is to be client-oriented in every situation, then the consequence in your work organization is to create a work environment and rhythm that allows you to be there for people. Not 100% of the time, but to put that in front because this is what makes you feel good and empowered and useful. So it's all about creating the boundaries. Me, I might be social and chatty. I'm a big introvert. I really need a lot of time by myself to regenerate, and I'm very drained in social situation. And so this is why I really create my thing, and I isolate myself, and I shut down my phone, because I can be easily distracted also. So I need really to create the environment to be in my zone, to provide the best version of myself. And then feel good about myself. And try to not find validation on the outside. Thank you. Anybody wants to share something?
I have the same problem. In terms, I'm not in sales, so it's more within the company.
Yeah.
I get distracted by emails a lot, by bosses, from colleagues, and I do always respond to them. And then I've got like tasks that are pending for many weeks, and I don't deal with them. And I have constant tasks every day. I've got my team, I have to manage them, and so I have to always balance it. I think it always goes towards the operational side and actually the long-term tasks. I need to do what you did.
The morning routine.
Yeah. I try to do that.
Well.
And sometimes it's there and then I get distracted by someone sending an email saying, oh, I need to do this.
Yeah.
I want to try to have a time where I'm like 2 hours doing what I need to do for, even though it's not required in the next day, I need to do it like by a week.
So what happened to be useful for me was to have an automatic email answer response. So I've received your email, I acknowledge it, I will answer within that time frame. For any emergency, you can call me, or if this time frame is okay for you, then I will come back to you. I've read something today about the do it tomorrow email technique. I don't know yet what to think about it. So basically the person transferred in 24 hours email treatment. So the email received today, unless it's an emergency, goes directly in a folder of tomorrow. But that person commits to himself to treat them first thing in the morning, the day after. Because two things can happen. It's a fake emergency that disappeared, that the email doesn't need to be treated anymore. Or it doesn't create instant pressure because there's already a 24-hour time slot that happened. I think it's brilliant. If I was still in a corporate environment, having like 50 to 100 emails a day, I would do that. What is also very useful for emails is to create, I don't know if you can do that, I had Outlook Express incorporated, and I could create folders and some rules that were sorting parameters that were directly putting the emails in some specific files. There was still appearing unread, but I knew that that person was sending me an email on that project or that topic, and I knew just by the people who send it if it would be an emergency or not. And my mailbox was not full of unread emails. They were hidden in the different files. So I've been burying more than one email, but I've learned a big lesson. Sometimes burying stuff is very, very good because it was important at the moment, and 2 weeks later you forgot about it, but then something changes. You don't even need to treat the email anymore. Deal with it. Right? Magic of fake emergency. Would you say that you are driven by emergencies at work?
Deadlines. Unless there is a deadline, I will not do it.
Interesting.
I mean, I will postpone it until it's no longer needed. And it's worse. But if there is a deadline, I will need the deadline.
I think there's no problem with emergencies. As long as you doing things at the last minute don't affect the people you're working with. Because for people who are organized, there's nothing more painful than working with somebody doing things last minute and not compromising. So it's all about communicating with the people. So if this works for you, do it. I could not. Every once in a while I could do it, but I could not. But if you work with people who are not like you, just take the time to talk to them and find a way to
right, but
collaborate.
So I mean that means they didn't set the deadline right from themselves. So they should let me know by when they need it, and then we get it by that time.
Yeah.
If they don't estimate it right, then
I completely agree with you. When somebody makes a request to you, you have to be okay with the delivery date. You have to understand also, I was always explaining to people, if I don't get your document at that date, the consequences will be this, and that. So the sooner the better, but this is the very last minute, now I trust you. And most people, you can be trusted once you've explained the bigger picture. Some other didn't meet it, and was driving me nuts. It was driving me completely nuts. But as long as you deliver, everything is fine. And in quality.
I was also in a position in which I had to collect feedback from like a lot of parties, around 200 different countries. So I do know when people don't meet the deadline, and I will set it earlier. So to make sure that if somebody is late, then I would still have some buffer to...
Unless you really trust the people, you don't have any choice, never give them the real deadline. Human beings are human beings. And depending on the people, I mean, it can be really damageable. And I know some people who are completely unable to meet the deadline. I remember I was working and asking them, okay, so we have a contract, I don't have any time urge, so I know that you're busy, so you're gonna give me the date, you can deliver me whatever I paid you to deliver, an analysis, study, whatever. But then, right now, I give you the choice to check your agenda, set a date, and really take all the space you need, but I will ask you to commit to this date because I never pressurized anything on it. So this is you facing you. But then these dates will have consequences because it will be a starting point of the project. So now let's be adult and talk about it. Even that didn't work all the time because some people just can't be on time. On time is fine, but after is not fine. Does anybody wants to share something else or no? So and now I was planning at first, so I've been coaching people for a while, and my thing was to offer an online workshop or course. But then I've been thinking that maybe I would organize one in Barcelona if some people reach out to me and ask for it. So that would be maybe a paid, it could be a paid workshop, don't know the price yet. It would be, I think, around 30 euros for 3-4 hours. If some people are interested, because we've been staying really in surface, and this is the kind of subject that needs to go deeper with specific exercise. We've been away to big group tonight to do it properly. This exercise is actually very insightful and interesting. Another thing I'm really good at is dealing with budget. I like figures. I usually coach people on personal budget management, self-awareness on their money spending, because you can tell a lot on a person when you know about his or her money patterns. We have huge avoidance mechanism and some protection mechanism and compensation mechanism when it comes to money. And really working with somebody on how that person spends its money and avoids to face it can be a very gentle and interesting tool to understand what's going good and not good in the life in general. So, but I built something more based on that. I knew that still in big groups can be confronting, so people don't want to talk about it. So I built an online workshop that I might turn into a Skillshare like this one, about a lot of tips and tools about how to manage a budget professionally. So either when you're an emerging entrepreneur and have to just create space in your budget, or somebody wanting to change life, but willing to organize a little bit more its money spending. So because money doesn't buy happiness, but money buys time that creates space to reflect and meet people and bring experiences. So I'm not the kind of people who will tell you the more you spend, the happier you will be. I'm the counter-example. But still, it's my savings that allowed me to spend the last 2 years developing my business, traveling, and allowing me to really build something that is true to me without money pressure. So I won't say it's evil. And the more aware you are about money, the more you can use it as stepping stones to move forwards on your project. Business coaching, mentoring one-to-one. If you want to know more, I have my brand new business cards. I got them today, very happy.
Credit card.
And there's my website. And there's something, last but not least, I wanted to tell you about. This is something, it's not that I don't even know where to start, but this is my passion project. I've always believed in the power of community. I don't believe in competition. I don't believe in power relationship and pressure in domination. This is everything that makes me sick. And I think that so many people suffer in corporate because there's a big trend. Some friends of mine do amazing job called co-workation or other companies like that who help entrepreneurs to network, to create a location-independent life on their own terms. And it's awesome, but not everybody can quit their job, sell their flat, and become an entrepreneur and travel to Bali. No, I mean, that would be awesome, but some people need to stay in corporate. The world needs company, maybe, but they need to completely shift their organization. And I've been in my last company, in a company that was shifting from a vertical organization to lateral organization, from hierarchy to collaboration. On paper, it was magical. The thing is, they've been implementing it in a very clumsy way that created a lot of suffering. Because when you remove hierarchy, when you empower the people with small positions, secretaries that feel empowered, seen, and that's awesome. And then you have all the direction board that really works with concept and congratulate themselves. And because they work on something that makes sense. But then you have all the middle layers that struggle, either because people don't want to give up their little powers, or project managers that all of a sudden become the pivot of the whole organization because there's no hierarchy anymore. And nobody's managed by nobody. And it creates a huge mess and can really generate suffering. So I've been working on the inside, being trained on it. This is when I've been also trained to be a coach, coach my teams and not manage them anymore, which I was doing before naturally. But it raised so many questions, and everything I want to do is to really find a way to start being in the happiness consultancy business, because I really want to help people and companies empower themselves at work and really be seen and valued and accepted for who they are, and not making feel guilty and being blocked in a box with a job description. I really believe that if you trust people, the best going to come out of them. Not everybody's perfect. I mean, nobody's perfect, and you might hit some walls. But my passion project is here. So if any of you know people who do that, are interested in this, want to talk about it. I'd love to, because I'm just in the brainstorming level and I don't want to do this by myself. This is something I think I cannot really do by myself anyway. So, who knows? This is the best route to ask that kind of question after all. So yeah. Thank you.